Let's bring in the man himself, the great Einstein of Wall Street, the institution. Inside the institution, Peter Tuchman. Hello. What a way to kick off the new year. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Very happy New Year. What did you look up and see today for the tail of the tail? Look at the S&P trying to make up its mind.
You know what? I saw a wild and crazy ride. It ended up well, but you know, during the day, we always talk about we're one tweet away from crazy town, right? The market came in, a little feeling of a little bit of fresh money, right? And obviously the first day of the year, but we had a ride. There was at one point where we were trading up third. There was a little bifurcation. At one point we were down a couple hundred on the Dow and up 30 or 40 on the SPY. So something was you may know better than me, what was weighing on the Dow early in the morning. I don't know, probably one or two different names. And then it kind of flipped. They were both to buy. And then we were up 40 or 50 handles on the S&P, and then it just got whacked midday. Earlier, midday. And I'm not sure what it was. We tried to find out what news came out on the tape. I'm not sure. Maybe it's just volatile. Maybe it's the first day of the year and everyone's trying to get their footing. But you know, at the end, we were sort of fighting the imbalances because at one point we were too big to buy, $2 billion to buy. Market responded accordingly. It flipped to sell, right? And then we ended up flipping back to buy on the post. So this rally you saw was a function of $1.8 billion to buy that came in the last 2 minutes of trading. So what does that show me? That's fresh money coming in, people positioning themselves with billions of shares and dollars coming in on both sides. So I like that. Good breadth, as you said. Yep. 2-to-1 advances versus declines if you want to look in the nooks and crannies. And so overall, I think it's a great first day.
Yeah, we like to look at the nooks and crannies because the most consolidated, those tech names don't always tell the overall story with regards to breadth of bit under the surface.
Yes, for sure.
In your career, your esteemed career here at the big board, the iconic New York Stock Exchange, what do you look for in terms of volume or early year action that you'll be paying attention to as we come into Monday, which kicks off the first full trading week of the brand new calendar year?
You know what? Look, we have to see what is going to be the next catalyst. Are we going to head up? You know, we have got a lot of landmark potential thresholds that we could be hitting here. Obviously, 7,000 on the S&P, 49,000, 50,000 on the Dow. You know, as we went over this morning, you and I were on this morning, we talked about 2025 being an extraordinary year, and a resilient one, even though everything sort of was thrown at this market and we were able to get through it. Look, this is day one, right? One day does not make a market. We know that January, as you had said earlier, can portend what's going to happen for the rest of the year. Do we put all our nuts in that basket? I'm not so sure. But right now, we're looking at to see what the follow through is on the interest rate cuts and the transition into a new Fed chairman. Then how is the energy sector going to look relative to all that demand that's going to be put on it by the AI sector? And then we're going to look at banks, and then we're going to look at the first quarter earnings that are going to start to come in, right? Then we're going to sort of we're going to be able to look back on the year, right, and really get a good view of it, digest it, understand it, right, and marinate for a little bit, and then try and figure out what the forward guidance is going to look like.
To the point about digestion, you and I talked every day during those Liberation Day lows. If we were to go back to Monday, April 7th, it seems so cataclysmic in many ways, but I think investors over time, they sort of learned to kind of go with the flow a little bit, not have those knee-jerk reactions to every little tariff announcement out of the White House. You have a sense that we head into the new year that the worst of those trade policy uncertainties are somewhat behind us, or still something investors need to pay attention to because they could emerge at any time?
Well, I always say we're one tweet away from crazy town with the new people on at the top of the board right now. However, I think that we've learned a lot this year. Right, we've learned, I'm so glad you brought that up, because what we did learn is not to overreact to every little tick, every little tariff response. If you learn anything from the way Mr. Trump maneuvers and sets policy and does things, if you don't like the weather, just wait a minute, because 185% tariffs today, 9 hours later, maybe oh, he's my best friend and we're taking the ball and leaving the playground together. So and if you were to react through last year in every knee jerk, you were probably chasing the ball in an unfortunate way. At the end of the day, markets are strong, they're resilient over time. We know the S&P goes up. This is not a recommendation, disclaimer across the board. However, the market, it's a tale of the tape. The market tells us what it thinks of the information. Has it had enough time to tell us what it thinks of the forthcoming things to come in the near future? Not yet. I think we'll see it Monday, and next week will be very telling. We still do have to digest what happened with the Fed last week. So the bottom line is this. Is the economy doing better than we thought? Are we looking? So already today, there was a lot of chatter like, okay, maybe only one cut next year.
Right.
I don't know how they could even be saying that, because we're just starting to get economic data that we had been cut out from, and now we're getting new data, right?
Shutdown,
That's
right.
what's going to start to happen next week. We're going to start to get the stuff that we were not privy to, and we're going to start to get things that are new data coming in, and that will be very telling.
You did an amazing job this week. Go ahead and take the weekend off. You've earned it.
You know what?
Sure.
I think I'm going to take a couple of days off.
The great Peter Tuchman, the
Thank you,
Einstein
ladies
of
and
Wall Street,
gentlemen.
the
Always a
institution
pleasure.
in this beautiful institution
Boom.
of the New York
Giddy
Stock
up,
Exchange. Thanks
as
for
we
being
say.
here. As always, giddy up,
Giddy
as we
up.
like to say. Happy New Year, one and all. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next week.